Okay, hello. So, if my voice is audible, then please write in the comments. Okay, hello. Okay, hello. So, if my voice, yeah, I just, uh, I just decided to start it a bit early just so we can get the technical problems out of the way and make sure that the stream is running well. The actual start is still going to be at 10 p.m. Uh, We are waiting. If anyone is wondering what's happening, we are waiting for a few minutes more so that we can get more people and welcome. So, Chaos Hunter 69, welcome. Manuel Pellegrini, welcome. Didax, Civil, Oriol, welcome. Kama, welcome. Ukrainian Ball Animations, welcome. I hope you're having a nice day. Yes, Tabo, hello. E, hello. Oh, so your name is Homo Sovieticus. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to wait a couple of minutes more. I'm just trying to access my live chat here on mobile, but I'm unable to do it for some reason. Uh, yes, Normalny and that Polish name which I cannot really pronounce. Welcome. Yes, we are here for European peace. That is right. That is correct. That is the correct dialectical analysis of this entire situation that we have here. Okay, so we are now going to start in three, two, and one. So, this is the condition of the world as of 1936. As you can see, the great ray of freedom of American liberalism has finally managed to liberate the peoples of the old world of Eurasia from imperialist Orientalist tyranny. Most of Africa has already been liberated, and now we shall redraw the borders of the old world. The new world has now dominated the old world, and all peoples of Eurasia shall now know freedom. We have done this in an alliance with the Japanese, who have secured their own sphere of influence over China and Southeast Asia and Indonesia. But we shall not pay much attention to them. Now we shall proceed with the actual voting. So, I will explain to you how exactly we are going to vote. Once I put up any decision in here, then you will get a number of options. There might be two options, there might be four options, and whatever option you want, you just type in the number of the option that you want, not the name but the number. You're free to make any other comments. You're free to justify your claims in the comment section. For example, if you think that Germany should own Alsace-Lorraine, then you can feel free to say it in the comments, state it clearly, but while voting, only vote with the number. So let us start now, and I hope my voice is quite clear. Yeah. So let's begin first of all with let's start with the fate of okay, you know what? Maybe more people will come. So let's start with Italy for now. So the first pole of this treaty, the most important land, the land from where European civilization started, the land of the old Roman Empire. What do you want to do with Italy? Do you want to release the Italian Republic, or do you want to dismantle the very conception of an Italian state? Bakerino4065, welcome to the stream. We are just voting on the fate of Europe, and you will draw the borders of this new Treaty of Versailles. So please vote in the comments. Okay, so for now, I guess 5 people want. Oh, that's nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have got a tie. We have got a tie. We need a tiebreaker. So beyond the Tractatus has a tiebreaker vote, but again, Bakerino 4065 has once again tied the situation. We are now at 6-6. We are now at 6-6 for the condition of Italy. We need a tiebreaker. Come on. Yeah, well, not all people think the same, E. Many people think that Italy is a fake nation state. We are still at the tie. We need the tiebreaker. Okay, so Smigly Reeds has voted 2, and with this option 2 lock. So we are going to re-establish the Papal States. Italian statehood has been forever destroyed. The Pope is now in charge of central Italy, as it had been before this bourgeois feudal restoration in the 1860s. Okay, so someone is asking where I do my streaming from. I do it via OBS. Anyway, now next poll. Next poll is going to be, let's see. Yeah, the next poll is going to be the fate of southern Italy. So, those who, okay, we will restore the kingdom of the two Sicilies, and then the next poll is going to be the fate of Lombardy. So, what do you want to do? Okay, so you cannot vote for release the Italian Republic because that would repudiate the decision that we had taken before of dismantling Italy. So that is not allowed. Gamma, you need to change your vote. You cannot vote for one. You have to vote for 2 or 3 because in the earlier decision, we have already decided to dismantle Italy. What has already been dismantled cannot be made whole again. Okay, so please change your vote if you voted for one, or else I will have to disregard your vote for this one. It looks like 2 is winning pretty clearly. Most people are monarchists here. No, Toadster, that does not happen. If I take this decision, then it will annex the Papal States to the Italian Republic. That's why we cannot do it. That's just how it works. Even I would have liked if it had not been like that, but unfortunately it is like that. So there are 7 votes for the Visconti monarchy. I say vote is vote. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like the monarchist option is pretty clearly winning, although by a very small margin. So restore the Visconti monarchy under Duke Marcello I. Then we move on to Piedmont, release Sardinia, Piedmont. Now we take a brief detour and we move on to the most important decision, the fate of South Germany. So, what do you want to do? Form a German republic, restore the German Empire, or release a South German state? So, Manuel Pellegrini is a certified Hohenzollern hater, so is Tabot, and Chaos Hunter 69 wants the crown of the Hohenzollerns. Normally, Sloviak, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He wants to dismantle the very conception of a German state. He also wants to do that. Nolan, welcome. We always love Brazilian people here. Latiop, welcome. Ranger Knight, welcome. Presently, option 1 is winning. Nestor Machno has arrived. Oh my god. Of all the people you would have expected to come here, we have got literal Nestor Machno inside the treaty. That is amazing. Anyway, so 3 is at 4 votes, and 2 is at 3 votes, and 1 is at 4 votes. We can okay, 3 is now at 5 votes. So 3 is winning. So most people wish to dismantle Germany. Anyone else? Come on. Okay, so the Austrian guy has arrived. That is another funny PFP man. No, you cannot vote twice. Please do not do that. That is absolutely not allowed. And I'm not going to be fooled by people voting twice. We are currently at a tie between option 3 and option 2. No, we are not. Juan Diego Lopez has voted twice. This means option 3 is still winning. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is it. So, release a South German state. Moving on to the fate of North Germany. And then the fate of Prussia. Now, you can only vote for option 3 or option 4. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to release a Prussian state, or do you want it to grant it to North Germany? Yes, it's over, Bismarck bros. Otto von Bismarck's dream has now been plunged into the darkness of history. A majority of the people want to grant it to the North German state. We are now at 6 votes for the North German state. It is pretty clear who's gonna win, but I will still wait for a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, tell me, what is your rationale? Why give it to North Germany instead of releasing it as a part of Prussia? Why not release Prussia as its own entity? Why do you want to give it to the North German state? Preußen Gloria intensifies. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so option 4 has won, so option 4 is going to be locked. Granted to North Germany. So this is now the North German state under August Schulz of the Grossdeutsche Arbeiterpartei, Greater German Workers' Party. That's a funny name, real funny name. Okay, moving on to the fate of the Rhineland. You can only vote for option 3, 4, or 6. 3, 4, or 5. Hello, Shifted Makes Music, welcome. Chaos Hunter, welcome. Okay, Big Man Solid, you cannot vote for option 2 because we have already decided to Balkanize Germany in the prior options. So if we restore the German Empire now, then it would just be a disservice to all the voters who have voted for it before. Option 4 is currently winning. Fabror Melker, you cannot vote for option 6 because we are not. Okay, sorry, you can vote for option 6. You cannot vote for option 7. No, quality garbage. We cannot create a German rum state in the Rhineland because that is not how it works. If I choose option 1 or 2, then it will just annex North Germany and South Germany to a new unified Germany. And that would just be a waste of time. The name of this mod is HOI4 Kaiserreich. Okay, so option 4 is winning, and that is it. Option 4 lock. Release a Rhenish state and enforce harsh reparations. This is the new Rhenish state under George Hartmann. It is under the Völkische Wehrgemeinschaft, Völkisch Work Community Party. Anyway, moving on to The fate of Austria. So, do you want to liberate an Austrian republic, or do you want to restore the Habsburg rule over Austria, restore European traditions, or do you want to liberate a united Danubian republic? A change of hearts, but not a change of the status quo borders. Or do you want to restore Habsburg rule over the entire Danubia, basically going back to the status quo before 1914? Or do you want to grant it to our South German allies? Currently, option 5 is winning. Yes, the the Hebrew named blue person says we need South and North Germany to be more equal. That is correct. But, but in the end, the Treaty Council shall decide. Currently, we are tied at 2 and 5. 2 and 5 are currently tied. We need a tiebreaker between 2 and 5. Okay, Tabo, if you want to revote, then just delete your old comment. Yes, please send the invite to me on Discord and I will take a look at these new mods. Okay, so option 5 is winning, the option of granting it to our South German allies. Okay, so option 5 is locked. South Germany is now a massive state that encompasses all the land from Strasbourg to Stuttgart and all the way to Vienna. It is one home of all the Catholic South Germans. Anyway, moving on to, I think for the remaining decisions, okay. Yeah, moving on to the fate of Poland, release a Polish Republic. And now we get to the fun parts, the parts of Poland. So first of all, the fate of Posen. So Posen is this land over here. This is Posen. Do you want to grant it to Poland or do you want to grant it to the Germans? More specifically to North Germany. How much will Germany be punished for war making on the world? Except for Chaos Hunter, the Austrian guy, Ranger Knight, and Farbror Melker, everyone else is one with Poland. Rui, you cannot vote twice. Please do not vote twice. Anyway, let's see. Option 1 is still winning quite securely. There's an incessant amount of voting for option 1. It looks like the Prussia boos have not arrived on the scene yet. Okay, so I guess option 1 has pretty much won by a massive landslide. There's no point in waiting anymore. So granted to Poland. Next, the fate of Upper Silesia. This is Upper Silesia, granted to Poland or granted to North Germany. Yes, that's correct. Chaos Hunter 69 tried, but the Prussia Boos lost. Devot Reborn, welcome to the voting. So good to see you here. This time it is more balanced. As you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 8 votes for option 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 votes for option 1. Currently, option 2 is winning by a slim margin. So, why do you want to give Upper Silesia to either Poland or Germany? Write your justifications in the chat so that we can know what is the context that you're coming from. Eternal Banana has once again tied the vote. We are now tied at. Okay, no, Vacuum Cleaner has now suddenly came in with a swing vote and Poland is winning. So Toadsterer says that Upper Silesia is majority Polish, that is why it should be given to Poland. Majority Polish religion, Potters will look better. Upper Silesia would give Poland industrial independence. Germany already has industrial complexes. The Austrian guy says any area near Bromberg or Prussia has a higher German population. Upper Silesia is ancient Polish soil. Another person says Polish Catholics wouldn't be happy to be in mostly Protestant Germany. Jonathan, you have voted twice, so your second vote doesn't count, and Poland is still winning. Federico Andrade, do not vote twice. In any case, Poland is still winning. Jonathan, if you keep voting so many times in a row, then I will have to remove you. There's no other option, man. We need to count it. Yes, Ranger Knight says, Was ist der deutsche Vaterland? Then we have got. Okay, so option 1 has won by a slim margin of 1 vote. And with this, the Germans will now have to be deported back to Germany, and Upper Silesia will now be given to Poland. The city of Hindenburg is now a Polish city. Moving on, the fate of East Prussia, that home of the Prussians. This is East Prussia for those who do not know. We are now voting for the fate of Europe, and you are going to be taking part in the Treaty of Versailles. Devon Trepon says bye bye Hindenburg. That's funny. Most people wish to release an East Prussian state. Farbror Melker, no, the previous result was not 9-9 because some people had voted twice. So Vacuum Cleaner says it is the springtime of nations and that's why I'm voting to release East Prussia. Okay, now let me count the votes. It is okay, so currently East Prussian state is winning by 12-9, and that's it. Release an East Prussian state, and that is the state of East Prussia under Wilhelm von Geil. It is under the Deutsche Volkische Party. Poland is under Roman Dmowski, by the way. It is under the National Party. Moving on, the fate of Masuria. Masuria is this territory over here. So most people wish to vote for granting it to Poland. There are a few East Prussia supporters. Yes, Tabo, you're right. It covers parts of non-Masuria, including the city of Torun. He says that we need to secure the Polish corridor for the German state. Ten-five. Option 1 is winning by 10-5. Kartoffel says that it is the integral ancient Slavic Greater Lehistan province. I have absolutely no idea what that means. He says I meant it for Polish, more land equal to better protection. Granted to Poland. And with this, all the so-called rural Prussian character has now forever become a part of Poland. Moving on to the fate of West Prussia. Now we finally move on to one of the most important parts, the corridor, the one that links the sea to Danzig. Will you give it to Poland or will you give it to the North German state? Will you keep a part of Prussia burning bright or will you leave it into the back pages of history? Okay, you cannot vote multiple times. If you do that again, then I will have to remove you. There is simply no way I can count if you keep voting again and again. Spamming is absolutely not allowed. Okay, so if you do it again, then I will have to remove you. 12-9. Poland is winning by 12-9. Kartoffel says 100% no hesitation. Polish Piast. Okay, so Poland is winning, and that is it. Option 1 lock. Granted to Poland. With this, East Prussia is forever separated with the other Germans by the Polish corridor at Danzig. From now on, if any East Prussian German family wants to visit their relatives in Germany, then they will first have to either take a boat, or if they're traveling by land, then they will need a Polish visa. They cannot just go through by road directly. The two Germanys have been divorced forever. Moving on, the fate of Hungary. So do we want to liberate Hungary, or do we want to restore Habsburg rule over Hungary? What shall be it? The Republic of the Magyars or the crown of Saint Stephen? The Republic of the Magyars is winning by a massive margin. No, World Mapper 2, we cannot choose option 3 because that just leads to nothing. Doing nothing will mean that Hungary will remain a part of America, and that just makes no sense. Option 1 seems to be winning. The crown of Saint Stephen will now be cast into the gutter, it seems, because option 1 is winning by a clear margin. Vacuum cleaner, there is no lore as such to why this is happening. You can just assume that America and Japan have liberated the old world from tyranny, and now we are voting for this treaty. Okay then, the smiley, welcome. Markin206, welcome to the stream. Anyway, option 1 has triumphed. Liberate the Republic of the Magyars, and with this, the crown of Saint Stephen has been cast away onto the back pages of history, never to rise again. Moving on, the fate of Bohemia. Do you liberate a Czech state, or do you liberate a Czechoslovak state? Yes, Kaiser Karl I disapproves of my choice. That is correct. The blue Hebrew name person says it would be very awkward if the Habsburgs ruled Hungary but not Austria. That is true. Oh boy, this one is going to be difficult to count. Let's see. We have got 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, 9, 10, 9, 10, 11, 10, 12. Option 2 is winning by a margin of 2 votes. 10, 13. Option 2 is winning quite clearly to liberate a Czechoslovak state. Kartoffel says the North Hungarians must be united with the South Hungarians. No Slavic Union signatory. Slovakia will be too vulnerable against Hungary alone. That is what some of the commenters are saying. Anyway, option 2 locked. The Czechs and the Slovak will now be wedded together as one people in a marriage of nations. This is the Czechoslovakia under Emanuel Moravec and the party whose name I cannot really pronounce. Moving on. The fate of Krakow, the second capital of the Polish culture, of the Polish civilization. Do you liberate Galicia as its own separate country, or do you grant it to Poland? Galicia has historically always been a part of the Austrian Empire. It was never a part of German or Russian Poland, so many people want to create an independent Galician state to rival that of Poland, based in the capital at Krakow, or Krakow as people say. In this case, option 2 is pretty much winning unanimously. There's only one person called Vacuum Cleaner and Chaos Hunter 69. They are voting for liberating Galicia. But most other people want to grant it to Poland. Kartoffler says that it is the ancient Polish capital. That is true. No one wants that. Okay, so some people are saying Galicia is quite a different story, but West is 100% Polish. Anyway, so option 2 is winning, granted to Poland. Now, the fate of the little province of Tesin. So, Tesin is this province that sits strategically between Czechoslovakia and Poland. Since this is a little province, we won't really be waiting for too long for this one. I will only give you around half a minute to vote because this province is too small. We cannot literally just wait around for every single little province to be voted upon. Mark Aguilera Getino, welcome. And option 2 has won by pretty comfortable margin. Granted to Poland, so Tesin is now also a part of Poland. Moving on, we now have the fate of uh, where is it? Where is Russia? Come on, where's Russia, man? Okay, there it is. Liberate Russia, and the game freezes a bit when you liberate Russia. Just a moment. I will just have a drink of water while it finishes liberating Russia. Yes, I'm back. So, the fate of Belarus. Do you liberate Belarus or do you grant it to our Russian allies? Non-voted Russia is this big. Dodster says Russia is rightful Mongol clay. While you're voting, also write the justifications that you folks are using to vote. For example, why do you want to do X? Why do you want to do Y? That would be quite meaningful and informative. No, Belarus cannot be made a part of Poland. Currently, liberating Belarus is winning by 8-6. E says that I believe Ruthenian people, if they still exist, are different than Russians. Devon Reborn says Belarus has its own culture separate from Russia. Russia and Belarus are both Slavic Orthodox nations with very similar languages and cultures. Toadstar says Belarus is the true heir of the the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Anyway, the liberating option has won, so liberate Belarus. Belarus is under Vaclav Lastovsky of the Belarusian peasant party the Green Oak, and Russia is under Anastasi. Okay, I'm not going to pronounce that. Of the Young Guard. Moving on to the fate of Eastern Belarus. What will you do with Eastern Belarus? This is Eastern Belarus. Do you want it to grant it to Belarus? Do you want to grant it to Russia? Or do you want to split it between Belarus and Russia? We are now at 6-3-4. 6-3-4. Belarus is winning by 6-3-4. We need to take a compromise that pleases none. 6-3-5. 6-4-5. 7-4-5. Kartoffel says that it is ancient Polish clay, but rather give it to the Belarusians than the Russians. Belarus is winning by a slim margin, and I guess everyone's voting is done, so option 1 is locked. Dabo says we need 5 billion buffer states between Poland and Russia. Eastern Belarus has now been granted to Belarus. Now vote on the fate of Memel. Memel is this little province which is very strategic. Do you grant it to Lithuania or do you grant it to East Prussia? Option 2 is winning by a clear margin. And since this is a small province, I'm not going to wait for too long. Granted to East Prussia. Moving on to the fate of Vilnius. Vilnius was once the capital of Lithuania. To whom will you give Vilnius? You can give it to three different nations at once. So Goots, I cannot make a voting. I tried it once, but nobody voted, and it was really difficult and it was very time consuming. It's just better to do it on YouTube. Option 1 seems to be winning. And that is it. Option 1 has triumphed, granted to Lithuania. The ancient capital of Lithuania, Vilnius, has been returned. Moving on to the fate of Bialystok. Bialystok is this province over here. Who will get Bialystok? So will you give it to Poland, will you give it to Belarus, or will you give it to Lithuania? If you give it to Lithuania, then it will create a very funny situation where Lithuania will be kicking Poland around. Kartoffel says that Bialystok is so Polish that the people will just rebel and the Jagiellon spirit shall rise and join with Poland. Option 1 is winning, only Algar wants to give it to Lithuania. An Austrian guy wants to give it to Belarus. Anyway, option 1 has won. Give it to Poland. The Polish state continues to increase in size. Now, the fate of this province, Volkovisk, whom will you give it to, Belarus, Poland, or Lithuania? Poland is winning once more. Toadstrara says it's ethnically Polish. So we are building ethnic borders here. Gutsk says that Poland deserves this province because we did not get Vilnius. A triple frontier will be very interesting. It's more Orthodox than Catholic. Vacuum Cleaner says all areas between Poland, Lithuania, and Belarus should be joined in an artificial multicultural buffer state. And what will this buffer state be called? The Intermarium? Anyway, so Poland is winning and option 2 is locked. So granted to Poland. Poland keeps increasing in size. Now we shall vote on the fate of Ukraine. This is the hot topic these days. Will Ukraine be free or will Ukraine be not free? To be or not to be? That is the question of the day. No, Manuel Pellegrini Intermarium is not just a red flood reference. It is something that Marshal Pilsudski wanted to do even in real life. It is related to the Mackinder heartland theory, where there is a heartland which is dominated by Russia and there is a rimland, and Poland will form the gate of the rimland. It will protect European civilization from the Bolsheviks by consolidating themselves and other powers around the Intermarium. Sympathy for Ukraine. Austrian guy wants to give it to Russia. And this is it. The Ukrainian national state has been liberated. It is under the League of Ukrainian Nationalists. Uh, Now we shall vote on the fate of Latgale, which is this province over here between Latvia and Russia. Ku Klux Klan says, I've seen enough, give it all to Trotskyist Antarctica. Trotsky wanted permanent revolution, so for him, any territory is going to be transitional and temporary anyway. Kartoffel says that Ludgale is ancient Balto-Slavic soil. Alga says that he wants his greater Russian Empire borders. Option 1 is still winning, and since this is a minor province, I'm not really going to wait too long for this, so option 1 is locked. Granted to Latvia. Moving on, the fate of Shelm, which is this province over here. Chelm is near the Bug River and it is close to the borderlands with Ukraine and Belarus. The city was really inhabited since early medieval times. And during the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, it developed as a trading town and seat of a Catholic diocese. Option 1 is winning. Vacuum cleaner says Polish nationalist chat strikes again. Most of the chat wants to keep giving Kresy Poland back to Poland, it seems. But anyway, option 1 locked. Granted to Poland. Now, the fate of Brest. To whom will you give Brest, this strategic region which sits right in the middle of Poland, Belarus, and Ukraine? Poland is still winning, although this time there is a strong Belarusian lobby. Keep writing your justifications for voting too. What justifications are you using to vote for a particular choice? Okay, so 1 is winning by a narrow margin. Now, the fate of Polesia, which is this territory that's remaining. So, people say that Brest is ancient Polish land of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth could not exist without it, and Poland, as a successor state, cannot exist without it either. This time around, we have an overwhelming amount of vote for Belarus. He says that voting for Belarus will chill Belarusian hostilities against Poland. That may be true, but it will also make Belarus look like some sort of fish. Look, this is the tail of the fish, and this will be its mouth. And it will look like it is feeding off Poland. It won't really look pretty on the map, that's all I'm saying. And with this, Belarus now looks like a fish. Now, the fate of Homel, which is this little province around here. Once again, anyone who is caught in the wrong country might have to be repatriated to their country. So, whatever you sign on this treaty today will affect the lives of millions of people. There's an overwhelming amount of votes for one. And since this is a little province, I won't really wait too long. Option 1 locked. Ancient city of White Ruthenia. Moving on to the important city of Lemberg. The fate of Lemberg is now in your hand. Do you grant it to Poland or Ukraine? Do you grant Lviv to Poland or Ukraine? Lviv. Okay, most people want to convert it into Lvov. Okay, so the city of Lemberg or Lviv is now going to be given to Poland. So Lemberg will now be given to Poland. Poland keeps increasing in size. Now, the fate of Stanislavov, which is this province over here. How? Oh, shit. Okay, that was a misclick which I cannot really correct. So I guess we will have to roll with it. There is nothing I can do. I accidentally gave Stanislavov to Poland. Shit. Anyway, moving on to Transcarpathia, which is this province over here. Will you give it to Czechoslovakia or Hungary? Vacuum cleaner says thousands will die from this mistake. So most people wish to give Transcarpathia to Czechoslovakia, but there is a loud Hungarian minority. Okay, Magister D, you cannot vote 3 times in a row. I'm not really considering your extra votes. Glitchy C, welcome. D Mena, welcome. Eternal Banana, welcome. And option 1 is winning. Granted to Czechoslovakia. So now we have got a long Czechoslovakia. You know what? I'm a bit tired of Eastern Europe, so let's go to Western Europe for some time now, and then we will return back to the East later. So, moving on to Switzerland, do you restore the Swiss state or do you merge it with South Germany? While you're voting, also give the justification for your vote so that I will know why you're voting for a particular choice. One person says that if you're voting for two, then you're Gaddafi. That's funny. Switzerland likes to be neutral and they're good about it, so we shall have a mediator. No more Swiss bank accounts for rich people, so second option. Eternal Banana says, I use it to hide my blood money, so they're all voting for option 1. So option 1 has won. Restore the Swiss state. It is under Eugen Bircher of the National Populist Party of Switzerland. Moving on, the fate of France. We should create a new French government in Paris. So France is under Henry Dorgeres of the Front Paysan, the Peasant Front. Moving on to the fate of the Netherlands. So, shall we set up a Dutch republic or shall we restore the Orange Nassau monarchy? Emiliano Para, welcome to the voting. Trollful, welcome to the voting. Most people wish to restore the crown, restore the tradition of Orange Nassau. Monarchy is winning. Vacuum cleaner says apparently Hungary doesn't deserve a monarch, but the Netherlands does, says the chat. I think that many people voted for Republican Hungary because it would have been awkward to have Habsburg rule over Hungary, but then South Germany is a republic. That would have been weird. And so option 2 is locked. The exiled Dutch monarchy will now come back. Queen Wilhelmina has been crowned in her magnificent palace as Queen of the Dutch, or Queen of the Netherlands, because her right to monarchy is granted by God, not by the people's mandate. Now, moving on to let's do. Let's return to Italy for a bit. The fate of Venice, release of Venetian Republic, the fate of central Italy, the fate of Tuscany. Now vote for the fate of Romandy, which is here. Again, this is a very minor province, so I won't really be waiting too long for this. You have got around 20 seconds to vote. Granted to Switzerland or France. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I will wait for 10 more seconds because there is a lag. As are drawn, welcome to the voting. We are now deciding the fate of millions of people. And since every single nation is national populist, this means that whatever borders are drawn, all the people who find themselves as minorities in their respective new countries will have to move to their new homelands. Because everyone is a national populist. Give it to Switzerland. The fate of Emilia, release an Emilian Republic. Okay, the fate of Britain. Now, this is going to be interesting. What do you want to do with Britain? Do you want to create a loyal collaborationist British government? Do you want to divide the island between England and Scotland? Do you want to divide it between England, Wales, and Scotland? Or do you want to grant it to the Dominion of Canada, who will bring liberal democratic republicanism to the Isles? Option 3 seems to be winning at the moment. I am normally spam will not be tolerated. And option 3 has won. So divide the island between England, Wales, and Scotland. An isle once whole shattered forever. Following the defeat of the Union of Britain, the occupation will now officially come to an end. After half a millennium of union, England, Scotland, and Wales have been divided once more. Let's take a look at their governments. England is under Arnold Lacey of the National Republican League. The crown of the Windsors has been cast into the gutter. Scotland is led by a Council of State. Wales is led by H.R. Jones and the Welsh Home Rule movement. Who've Robert Jones? Moving on, the fate of Denmark. Zom and Kat, welcome to the live stream. Individualist Che Action, welcome to the live stream. The person with the acrylic name, whose name I can't really pronounce, welcome to the live stream. Oak, welcome to the live stream. Option 1 is winning, and since Denmark is a pretty minor country, I will not be waiting for too long. Option 1 is locked. Liberate Denmark as a monarchy under King Christian X. Okay, so your name is Nietzsche. Alexander Nietzsche. That is amazing. Nerdcats, welcome. Moving on, we have got. I don't really know where to go next. I guess let's vote for Northern Schleswig. Give it to Denmark or give it to Germany. Bismarck had taken it during the War of 1866. For these minor provinces, we are not really going to be waiting for too long. Please vote faster. And option 1 seems to be winning. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Option 1 is locked. Captain Smoke, welcome. Granted to Denmark. So Bismarck's dream is now once again destroyed. Northern Schleswig has been returned to Denmark. Now the fate of another of Bismarck's dream projects, the fate of Alsace-Lothringen. Who shall get the province of Alsace-Lothringen? This time it's a very close contest. One is winning, one is still winning. Most people want to give it to France. There are quite a few Rhenish men here. Sauce1336, welcome to the stream. It looks like one is winning by a small margin. Anyway, so option 1 is locked. Alsace-Lorraine will be returned to France and all the Germans will be repatriated back to Germany. Moving on, the fate of Wallonia. So what do we do? Do we liberate Belgium as a republic or as a monarchy, or do we liberate Wallonia, or do we give Wallonia to France? Wallonia is the more Catholic territory of Belgium, which is the southern part of Belgium here. It has always been pretty distinct from Flanders, which is more Dutch, more Protestant. But anyway, also while Flanders was more mercantile, Wallonia was more agrarian. So these are all the differences. Let's see. We have got. Okay, so option one is winning by a small margin. Liberate Belgium as a republic. So Belgium is now under Leon de Grelle and the Rex party, the Parti Rexiste, which is a liberal democratic party with principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Moving on, we now come to the fate of Limburg, which is this little town over here. Now, this is a very small territory, so I won't really be waiting for too long. Please vote fast for small territories like these. I'm not going to be waiting too long for this little state. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And option 1 is winning. Granted to the Dutch. Okay, moving on, the fate of Luxembourg. Do we grant it to Belgium? Do we grant it to France? Or do we grant it to the Rhenish people? Option 3 is winning. If you can, then please write your justifications for voting any of the options so that people will know why you're voting for certain options. Granted to the Rhineland. Far across the map, on the other side of the world, the Japanese have released the Republic of China under Zhang Zuolin, so the liberation has begun on the other side of Eurasia. Now, the fate of Brittany, shall we liberate it or shall we give it to the French, to whom it has belonged for more than half a millennia? So Algar, I did not really create anything in Asia. It was all done by the Japanese. Option 1 is winning. Most people want to liberate Brittany despite the fact that most Britons speak French. Antonio J.M. and Bam Bam Abraham, welcome. Make Brittany a French duchy. Come on, Celtic brothers. Okay, so option 1 is locked. Brittany has been liberated. It is led by Antoine Kervella of the National Populist Party. Now, the fate of Pas de Calais, which is this province over here. So, do you grant it to France or do you grant it to Belgium? Devot Ribbon says that the Celts are returning, or the Celts. Most people wish to give it to Belgium. This is a minor territory. I'm not really going to wait too long. Give it to Belgium. Then we have got this little important port of Westerschelde. Again, this is a very, very minor province. I'm not really going to wait long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and that's it. We've granted it to the Dutch. Now moving on to, let's move on a bit to the Balkans now, the place where the funny things happen. First of all, the fate of Romania. Do you liberate Romania as a republic or as a monarchy? Elijah, Kleber, and Kiso, welcome. So option 2 is winning and restore the Romanian monarchy. It is now under Mihai I and the legion of the Archangel Michael. Moving on to the fate of Serbia. Do we liberate Serbia or do we liberate a united Yugoslavia? One united state for the South Slavs or a Serbian state? And option 2 has won. So the South Slavs will now be living in one single state. But will this Yugoslavia be a republic or a monarchy? Do we restore King Alexander the First as the King of Serbia? Sorry, King Alexander the Second. Oh no, sorry, no. Do we restore Crown Prince Peter as King Peter the First, or will Yugoslavia become a republic? And option 1 is winning. Yugoslavia shall become a republic. It is now led by Milan Stojadinovic of the Yugoslavian National Party. Egg Bosk, welcome. Moving on to, let's see. Yes, let's do Greece. Do we liberate Greece as a republic or as a kingdom? Algar, a republic doesn't really have to be a democracy. England is not a republic, but it is a democracy, while North Korea is a republic, but it is not a democracy. So option 2 is winning quite comfortably. Liberate the Kingdom of Greece. Hellas is once again under monarchy. Now I'm searching for Turkey. Where is Turkey? Where is Turkey? Where the hell is Turkey? Okay, for real, where is Turkey? Where is Turkey? Turkey. Oh, it's Anatolia. Okay. So, the fate of Anatolia. Allow the formation of a new Turkish republic or restore the Ottoman Empire. Most people want to restore the Caliphate of Islam and the crown of Osman. But now the tide is turning. One is winning, no, two is winning again by a small margin. And option one has won. Allow the formation of a new Turkish republic. The Republic of Turkey is under Mehmet Recep Bekar of the Kadroist Kol, the Turkish People's Party. Moving on to the fate of Dunkirk, granted to Belgium, then. Okay, now the fate of Transylvania. Where will Dracula go? Will Dracula go to Romania? Or will Dracula go to Hungary? Or will he be his own thing, his own realm? Or will he be split in half between Romania and Hungary? Let's see, option two is winning. Now option four is winning. And this is it, split it between Romania and Hungary. So these are the new border lines of Transylvania. Moving on to the fate of the Aegean coast. Where will Achilles and Troy go? Will they go back home to Greece? Or will they go to the Turks? So Tabo is really regretting his decision to go with option 4 in Hungary and Romania Sea. And option 2 is winning. Option 2 is winning. Antonio JM says Greece must take everything back, including Constantinople. So option 2 has won. Granted to Greece. So the territories of Smyrna, Mogila, Bursa, and Constantinople have now been given to Greece. But wait, what about the city of Constantinople? That will also be given to Greece to avoid border war. Now, The fate of, let's see, Bulgaria. Where is Bulgaria? There it is. So, release a Republican Bulgaria or restore the Tsar to his throne. So, Alexander says this is definitely would not lead to any problems in the future. Guth says that I live in those provinces and y'all made me Greek now. Oh, that's funny. Option 2 is winning. Restore the Tsar to the throne of Bulgaria. So you all are funny. On one hand, you want monarchies everywhere, but then you don't want a monarchy in Yugoslavia and Turkey. It is really weird. There is no pattern at all. This is just random. So, the Prime Minister is from the Union of Bulgarian National Legions. This will have very interesting effects for the Turkish and Romanian minorities of Bulgaria. Moving on to Macedonia, the home of Alexander the Great. Will you give it to Yugoslavia or will you give it to Bulgaria? Dabo says that being Greek is a fate worse than death. Option 2 is winning by a comfortable margin. Okay, now option 1 has done a comeback and option 1 is winning. Option 2 is winning again. Dirt is Train 21 Finland. Welcome. The person with the Hebrew name says Macedonians are confused Bulgarians. I do not know if that is true. So Macedonia has been granted to Bulgaria. So Alexander the Great was a great Bulgarian emperor who was the first conqueror of the world. Proud Bulgarian legacy. Now the fate of Adrian Pole, give it to Greece. Now the fate of Nish, which is this land over here. Okay, so for minor provinces like this, I'm not really going to wait too long. Please vote fast. So Yugoslavia has got Nish. Moving on to Florina, which is this little province over here between Greece and Bulgaria. Granted to Greece or granted to Bulgaria? And it's pretty unanimously for option 1. granted to Greece. Moving on to the fate of Chaldees, which contains the important city of Thessalonica. Roman Empire fans unite. Manuel Pellegrini votes for 1. Sauce 1336 votes for 1. The Smiley votes for 1. Frau, welcome to the stream. And it's 1. Give it to Greece. Moving on to Komotini, which is this province over here. I won't really wait long because this is another minor province, so please vote fast. People are really hell-bent on not giving sea access to Bulgaria in the Mediterranean. Bulgaria will remain a landlocked nation except for the Black Sea, of course. Then the fate of northern Epirus, which is this province over here. I think that these borders will really lead to eternal peace in Europe because these are perfect borders. The chat cannot be wrong. All of these borders will make sure that every single ethnic group is completely satisfied. Granted to Greece. Moving on to the fate of Constanza, which is this province over here. Do we give it to the Romanians or the Bulgarians? Now, I will be very clear when you're voting. Bulgaria is led by the Union of Bulgarian National Legions, and Romania is led by the Legion of the Archangel Michael. So, whoever you vote for and whoever gets the region of Constanza will kick out every single person of the other ethnic group. So, in this vote, your vote matters really a lot because one mistake and millions of people are going to be deported. That is the tragic reality of this important province. Granted to Romania, and due to this, hundreds and thousands of Bulgarians will now have to make the long march home. Moving on to the fate of Cyprus. Do you liberate Cyprus? Do you give it to the Greeks? Do you give it to the Turks? Or do you give it to the British? So 2 is winning. Most people want enosis to happen. Slicknick17, welcome to the live stream. Badoomka, welcome to the live stream. 2 is winning. These are the borders of Europe that we have drawn until now. There are still a lot of decisions remaining to be taken. Give it to the Greeks. Cyprus is now a part of Greek civilization, with a regional capital at Nicosia. Now the fate of Kosovo, will it be given to the Yugoslavs or the Albanians? And it looks like option 2 is winning. And granted to the Albanian elites. Moving on to the fate of this province, Kardzali, which is this province over here. Devot Reborn says Albania receives her Kosovar sons. Normalny says sad day to be a Slav. Okay, this is a minor province, so I won't really be waiting too long. Please vote fast. And that's it. Option 2 is winning clearly, and option 2 is locked. Give it to Bulgaria. We now have a very fat Bulgaria, a very fat and short Bulgaria. Now, the fate of Vojvodina, which is an important province here. Do you give it to the Hungarians or the Yugoslavs? Super Lalki Triatralski, welcome. New York Nutcase, welcome. Option 1 is winning. The province of Vojvodina is very intimately linked to the old crown of Saint Stephen, and with this basis, Vojvodina shall now go into Hungary. All South Slavs will now have to travel to Yugoslavia, and Vojvodina shall become an integral part of Hungarian settler colonization. Moving on to the fate of Bessarabia, which is this large province over here. Historically, this province was occupied from Romania by the USSR. Okay, so what are your justifications? Why are so many people voting to give Bessarabia to Romania and not to Ukraine? Do you want to create a greater Romania? Moving on to the fate of West Banat. Do you give it to the Hungarians or the Yugoslavs? Alexander says that he voted for Romania because Moldova is Romanian clay. Antonio James says Bessarabia is 90% Romanian anyway. That random guy on the internet, welcome. Kuyus Kulius, welcome. So granted to Hungary. Moving on to the fate of Silistria, which is this tiny province over here. Kuyus Kulius says Bessarabia belongs into Russia toolkit. And so it goes to Bulgaria. Moving on to the fate of Trieste, which is this important port city that lies between Venice and Yugoslavia. And once again, option 1 is winning by a tiny margin. Granted to Venice. Moving on to the Dalmatian coast. Do we landlock Yugoslavia or do we give Dalmatia to Yugoslavia? Effect MC, welcome to the stream. Okay, so most people are voting for option 1, and that is it. Give it to Yugoslavia. Next up is the fate of Serenuati, which is this little province over here. Do you give it to Poland or do you give it to Romania? So it looks like the old Polish lobby has broken up and we now have an overwhelming amount of votes for Romania. Oh my god, even Devot Reborn is voting for Romania. That is unbelievable. So many of the Romanian lobby has simply, sorry, so many of the Polish lobby has simply abandoned Poland. Now, the fate of Gorizia, which is this place over here. This is a very minor province, so I won't really wait for too long. The question is, how far inland do we want Venetian domination of Trieste to go? Will Trieste be an isolated Venetian port city, or will it even penetrate inside the Slavic fatherland? Granted to the Yugoslavs. So Trieste is now only on the coast. Will the Italians rule? Inside are the Slavs. The fate of Kotor. This is too minor a province, so please vote quick. So Kotor is now a part of Venice. Moving on to the fate of Istria, which is this province over here. Do you give it to the Yugoslavs or do you give it to the Venetians? We're currently tied. Now option 1 is winning and option 1 is locked. And then the fate of Rijeka, which is this little province over here. Italy is carved up because the treaty signers decided that the Italian national state or the Italian national identity is a fake bourgeois feudal identity. And in fact, all the different nations of Italy were imprisoned in the Italian prison of nations. And that is why the Treaty Council decided to break up and balkanize Italy and liberate all of its different territories to grow on their own without the Roman boot over them. Moving on to Karavaks. It is this territory over here, the mountains of Karavaks, which are extremely strategic. Whoever holds these mountains will be able to better defend himself against the other's aggression. Will you give it to the South Germans or will you give it to the South Slavs? And granted to Yugoslavia. So now the Yugoslavs will have an advantage. They can attack the South German positions across the river and the mountains if any war happens. But a war will not happen because the entire intention of this treaty is to prevent war from happening, to make sure that we have an equitable distribution of power for all nationalities in Europe. Moving on to Spain. Do you restore the kingdom or do you establish a Spanish republic free from the Bourbons? Alessio Valletta, thank you so much for this lovely comment. It is truly fans like you who make creating videos and content like this worthwhile for me. I live for just reading one comment like this. The Raven Lord, welcome. So, option one is winning. Release a kingdom under the Bourbon monarchy. And the parties, the Johns, the juntas de ofensivas nacional sindicalistas. That is very funny. Moving on to the fate of Catalonia. Liberate a greater Catalonia or split the region or give it to Spain. While you're voting, please make sure to give some sort of justification. For example, why do you want to liberate Catalonia? Or why do you want to grant it to Spain? I know that by this point, tiredness has kicked in. Even I'm tired of speaking non stop for the last 2 hours. But still, it would be really fun if there could be some justification, some debates in the chat. Option 1 is winning by a slim margin. Devot Ribbon says Catalonia is integral Spanish territory. Well, no longer. From now on, Catalonia is now divorced from Spain. It is its own republic. It is under Daniel Cardona y Civit and the Nosaltres Sols, ourselves only, a radical ethnic Catalonian party. Moving on to the Basque country. The Basque have been oppressed by the Indo-Europeans for the past 4 millennia, or maybe 5 millennia, and that will now change because now the Basque country will be liberated. The old European inhabitants of this land will finally be free from Indo-European Aryan domination. Moving on to Portugal. Do we liberate a republican Portugal or do we restore the Portuguese monarchy? So everyone wants to bring back the Braganzas from Brazil. The Braganzas are currently living in Brazil under the leadership of Ildo Meneghetti and the Liberal Party. Restore the Portuguese monarchy. Now Galicia. Liberate Galicia or grant it to Spain. You know what? Just this once, I'm going to give you a third option. If you say three, then never mind. Let's just go with this. So the Catalonians and the Basque have their independence, but the Galicians do not. Moving on to the fate of Laborde, which is this territory over here. These are very minor provinces, so let's vote faster. Moving on to the fate of Roussillon, which is this territory over here. Then Norway. Do you restore the monarchy or do you establish a republic? The Raven Lord, welcome to the live stream. You are one of my biggest fans. I Freezy, welcome to the live stream. Restore the Norwegian monarchy. This is one of the coolest maps I've ever seen in Kaiserreich. Next up, the fate of Sweden. Restore the Swedish monarchy or establish a republic. Yes, Alexander, you're right. The House of Bernadotte, which was established by a marshal of Napoleon, is winning the poll. Restore the Swedish monarchy to the throne. Moving on to the fate of Finland, liberate a Finnish republic. It is under Vilho Nala. Okay. Now, the fate of Karelia. Do you give it to Russia or Finland? So, most people want to create a greater Finnish state. Finland is now a huge country. It is one of the largest countries in Europe. Now, the fate of the Aosta Valley, which is this province in here. This is a very minor province. So let's speed run through these provinces now. I won't really speak much. We shall vote very rapidly for these minor provinces like the Aosta Valley or Nice or Ticino. Granted to Sardinia, then the fate of Nice, which is this province over here. Once again, vote very fast. Granted to France, so the home of Garibaldi is now not in Italy anymore. In fact, Italy doesn't really exist, so it is very fitting that the man whose dream Italy was is now a French historical personality. Moving on to Trentino, which is this province over here. So Trentino is an interesting province because it has a lot of Germans, it has a lot of Italians, and anyone to whom you give the province, the other people are going to be angry about it. You cannot really please everyone here. Give it to South Germany. So now the Italians will have to go from Südtirol. Next up, we have got Ticino, which is this little territory over here. Once again, the whole goal of this operation is to make sure that there is eternal peace in Europe, that the word war will disappear from European dictionaries forever. Everyone will be pleased. This peace treaty will ensure eternal, unending, unceasing, incessant peace for all of eternity in Europe. Give it to Switzerland, then we've got. Why am I not getting the option for Savoy? Where is Savoy? Okay, there it is. So grant it to France or Sardinia. Imagine me, I'm waving around a piece of paper and I'm saying that this paper will ensure peace in our lifetime and peace for our times. That is what this treaty aims to achieve: eternal peace, tranquility. Savoy has been granted to France. Italy has been thoroughly castrated. Moving on to, let's go to the fate of the Danubian plain, which is this territory over here. We've got a tie here. Jeff Moe, welcome to the live stream. So, the entire point of this live stream is to ensure that there is an eternal peace in Europe, that everyone shall have their due and everyone shall be satisfied. Granted to Czechoslovakia. Moving on to the fate of Burgenland, which is this territory over here. Give it to South Germany. Then the fate of Mura, which is this little territory over here. Okay, you know what? Mura and Pressburg, whatever you vote for, the other will have the same vote. Moving on to. Oh, I see. We are done with Europe now. So now we shall move on to the Middle East, but before that, we have to vote for these provinces of Ukraine, which is first of all the Kuban. Do you give it to Russia or Ukraine? E says protection of the Azov Sea. The Ukrainian National Republic. Moving on to Georgia. So we have got three very interesting options here. So do you want to create a united Transcaucasian Republic, or do you want to restore the Kingdom of Georgia, or do you want to restore the Georgian Republic? XX Ocean Leaf XX, welcome. So for those of you who are new, this is the map of Europe that we have voted on until now. This map is to ensure eternal peace in Europe. Let's move on to the Middle East now. Let's move on to Egypt. Liberate an Egyptian republic or restore the Egyptian monarchy to its throne. What will you do with the land of the pyramids? Will you restore the old monarchy, which actually comes from Albania, by the way? Yes, the Egyptian monarchy has Albanian blood. Or will you liberate a free Egyptian republic? So Egypt is now under the nationalist Islamic Party. The old Albanian monarchy has been kicked out. Now the fate of the Levant, release Syria. Now the fate of one of the oldest civilizations on earth, Persia. Syria is under Antun Sadeh of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party. Restore the Qajar monarchy to its rightful throne. Now the fate of Iraq. Do we liberate the Iraqis or do we restore the old Persian Empire of Xerxes and Cyrus? Okay, so there's a second person with Cyrillic alphabets whose name I can't really pronounce. Can anyone tell me the name of that second person in Latin? Okay, so release the Mesopotamian lands. Iraq is under Rashid Ali al-Gailani and the national populist Al-Muthanna Club. He is a part of the Golden Circle. In real life, these people collaborated with the Nazis. Then the fate of Kurdistan, which has got 5 total options. Timofey Porusovsky, welcome to the stream. Light work abuser, welcome to the stream. My god, some of these names are so funny. MPMPM, welcome to the stream. Release a greater Kurdish state. This Kurdistan is actually bigger than Iraq, which is strange. It is led by Muzaffar ibn Ismail of the Hamidiyya party. Then we have the fate of Khuzestan, which is the territory that Saddam Hussein wanted to conquer in real life. Kurdish people, when they have to fight an Islamist group for the 27th time in a year, says MPM. So Khuzestan is now a part of Iraq. All the oil-rich territories of Khuzestan are now a part of Iraq. So Iran is now left without most of its important oil fields in the Khuzestan region. Now the fate of Adana, which is this territory over here. Will Adana be Turkish or Syrian? Will the stores in Adana have Arabic naming or Turkish naming? That is the question. So Adana will now be a part of Syria. Then we have got the fate of Lebanon. Will the Maronites have their own country, or will they have to be subject to the whims of a dictator sitting in Damascus? So Lebanon has been released. It's under Pierre Amine Jumayil of the Maratha movement. Then we go to the fate of the Sinai. Okay, so most people want to give it to Egypt. Then the fate of the Suez Canal. Will the Suez Canal be an international zone, or will you grant it to Egypt, or will you make the Suez Canal an American possession? So, E, goodbye, have a good day. So, the Suez Canal will now become a part of America. It is the 51st state. Moving on to the fate of Kars, which is this territory over here. So this territory will be decided by the ghost of Enver Pasha. Duke Smith, welcome to the stream. This is the map of Europe until now that we have voted on. It is voted to ensure eternal peace in Europe. Now, the fate of the Russian Far East. Most people want to give Siberia to Russia, who civilized it. Oh, come on, do not crash, do not crash, do not crash, do not crash, do not crash. Oh, that's a relief. The Russian Republic just doubled in size, or tripled. Now, the fate of Kazakhstan. So, most people want to establish a strong Central Asian federation, which shall last all eternity and ensure eternal peace in Central Asia. This is the massive horde of Chengiz Khan. It is now under Ali Khan Mendigaliev of the Zas Tulparlar. Then the fate of the Grey Wedge. No, but the republics of Central Asia will never separate. There will be eternal peace and freedom and liberty. This treaty is made so that it will last forever. These borders shall remain so for 1,000 years more, as everyone lives together in tranquility and brotherhood. So it is granted to the Central Asian Federation. Moving on to the fate of Ashgabat, granted to Persia or granted to the Central Asian Federation. Benjo, welcome to the live stream. It is so good to see you here tonight. Nicholas Javier and Space Dude 123, welcome to the live stream. No, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan will not fight because we here at the signing of this treaty, we esteemed gentlemen assure that this treaty will ensure eternal peace between people of all races, cultures, and ethnicities. Ashgabat has been granted to Iran, so Iran has lost Khuzestan but it has gained Ashgabat. Interesting. Moving on to the fate of Batumi, which is this province over here. It's this treaty is made so that there will be a fair and equitable division of power throughout Europe. So Batumi goes to Transcaucasia. And just for saving some time, Lazistan will now also go to Transcaucasia. They're, they're having the National Army Budget evaluation. The Central Asians are celebrating their freedom. The Russians are busy controlling the Supreme Court. The Turks are busy protecting the national economy. The Greeks are mastering the art of propaganda. The Yugoslavs are establishing rural credit banks. The Bulgarians are doing Operation Nishava. The Albanians are resisting land reform efforts. The Romanians are celebrating the second victory of their legionaries, while the Hungarians plot modern warfare. And what are the French doing? The French are building modern dockyards. The English are mastering modern warfare. The North Germans are building an army from scratch. The South Germans are recalling Bavarian army veterans. And the Rhenish Republic is celebrating freedom from the Russian Prussian yoke, while the Polish are establishing general inspectors. Why is everyone preparing for war, man? This treaty is designed so that everyone will live in peace for eternity. It's designed for maximum peace in our time, so that war will become a word which is a joke. Nobody after 1000 years, and these borders will stay the same for 1000 years, by the way. Nobody will know what the meaning of war was. Everyone will just forget. That is what we aim to achieve with this treaty here. Moving on to the fate of Sudan. Moving on to. Yes, exactly. Patriotic Brit 1707. We are celebrating the end of history. So currently there is a tie between option 3 and option 4. We need a tiebreaker. So Sudan is now a part of England. Moving on to Algeria. Will you give Algeria to France or will you liberate it? Yes, that's right. The Pied Noirs will be protected because Algeria is now rightful French claim. These borders are the end of history. Once established will never be changed again. Algeria will now remain French for eternity. It is an integral part of the French nation now. Moving on to Morocco. Remember that these borders will survive for 1,000 years because these borders are made to ensure eternal maximum peace. Restore the Alawite monarchy of Morocco. Okay, now we will move a little bit east to India. So, first of all, the fate of Afghanistan. So, Afghanistan will be a republic. It is simply a military junta. Now, the fate of Tunisia. Give it to France or liberate it. This Republic of Afghanistan will survive forever, for 1,000 years more, because these borders are made to make sure that there is no war ever. Everyone will live together in peace and harmony. So, Tunisian ethnic identity is now proven to be fake according to the voters. Tunisia and Algeria are squarely a part of France, just as Sudan is part of England. Now, the fate of Sakhalin. Remember that these borders will theoretically never really change because this treaty is made to ensure that there is eternal peace. So Karafuto has been restored. Oh, we forgot about Corsica. Okay, let's do Corsica. And there are a bunch of options. Most people wish to give Corsica to Sardinia. But now there is a significant papal lobby forming. So Corsica has been given to Sardinia Piedmont. And now the fate of Malta. Malta is one of the most important ports of the Mediterranean. The one who controls Malta controls the gates of the central Mediterranean. So be very careful when you vote for Malta. So option 1 is winning. Malta has been liberated. It is under Enrico Mizzi and the Partite Malti. Now we finally move on to India proper. Let's see, Central India. The third option is the option to Balkanize India. Now the fate of Bengal. You cannot vote for option 1 here. Okay, Alexander, it was nice having you here. I feel sad that you're leaving, but you gotta go. So have fun and good night. Bruh, it's led by Darul Islam. That's going to have some very wonderful effects on peace. Now, the fate of Punjab. Everyone wants to release Greater Khalistan. And a Sikh ethnic state has now been established. Now, the fate of Rajputana, then Kashmir, the most dangerous region in the world. Yeah, exactly, Antonio James, that is a generic portrait. So the Khalistanis have now got Kashmir. Now, the fate of Gujarat. No, I will have to give this to Maharashtra because I've often encountered an error. If I make it independent, then the game crashes. Now, Madras. Do you release Madras as a normal country or do you release it as a Dravidian ethnic state against Indo Aryan domination? Now, the fate of Peshawar, okay, we have to grant it to Afghanistan, then the fate of Goa. Okay, the fate of Goa. So, Devo Tribon and everyone else, thank you so much that you're staying with me till the bitter end, waiting for the final victory. Now, Goa is a very controversial case. On one hand, it is Indian by blood, but it is Portugal by culture and by religion. Then we move on to the fate of Sindh, which is an important strategic region because this is from where millions of Indian Muslims or Pakistani Muslims go to Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. So whoever controls Sindh controls the flow of religious activity in South Asia. Now the fate of Badakistan or Badakishan. Okay, so option 3 is winning. Now the fate of Quetta, which is this region over here. Give it to Afghanistan or give it to the Rajputs. Both of them are martial races of warriors. So this is a pretty unanimous vote for Afghanistan. Then we have Balochistan, which is this region over here. We can grant it to the Iranians or the Afghans or the Rajputs. Yes, Antonio JM, I've seen your previous comments. Afghanistan is going to be the Prussia of Central Asia, the graveyard of empires. So if you give Balochistan to Afghanistan, then the Afghans will have sea access for the first time since the time of the Ghurid dynasty, which ruled in the 12th century. So the Afghans finally have breathing space. They've got sea access now. You've created a massive Afghan Reich under Sher Ali Sherkhanzai and the Afghan Army's National Club. So what's remaining? The Andaman Islands, give it to the Dravidians, I guess. The fate of Burma. Let's restore the monarchy for now. The fate of Nepal. So select the fate of this province over here. So we now have a massive Nepali empire which stretches from Uttaranchal in the west to Darjeeling in the east. And then we have got the fate of Greenland, all the way across the map here. So most people wish to assimilate Greenland as the 52nd state of the United States of America, because the 51st state, if you remember, it was the Suez Canal. So Manifest Destiny is now going towards the Arctic. Make America Great Again. Yes, so I think that is it for today. We must stop here. This is the final map of Europe and of Asia that we have created together. As you can see, this map is made to ensure eternal world peace. These borders will last for 1,000 years. They will never change because the treaty has been made so perfectly, with such diligence, with such intellect, that everyone is confirmed to be completely satisfied, whether it be the Venetians in Kotor, or the Basques in their own country, or the Poles in Lemberg or Lviv. Everyone is going to be 100% happy because this map is made for happiness. It is made for pleasure. It is made to ensure peace and peace and peace. And I will say this word 1,000 times more because that is how many years these borders will last. Oh, sorry, I missed the North Caucasus. That was a good catch, yes. Where is the. Okay, there it is, the North Caucasus. So, do you liberate the Mountain Republic or do you grant it to the Russians? Now, you know what? I'm going to give you a third option here. This is only for Transcaucasus. If you vote 3, then Transcaucasia will get Northern Caucasus. Oh, there's another territory remaining, Abkhazia. Where is it though? Oh, there it is. This is the last remaining piece of real estate on Europe. Will the Russians get any sea access to the Black Sea? This little statelet of Abkhazia will decide. Otherwise, the Black Sea will be forever gone from Russian control. Will Russia retain control over the Black Sea? That is the question here. It is not about Abkhazia, it is about Russian control of the Black Sea. Will Russia have an outlet? Yes, Russia will have an outlet. Okay, so now I ask you this. Do you want to vote on the remaining things that are left? For example, Macau. So those who want to leave can leave now. Those who want to stay with me can stay. We will now do a rapid fire voting, beginning with Macau. Now, the fate of Equatorial Guinea. So most people want to give it to Cameroon, despite the fact that Cameroon literally has zero historical context or relation to anything in Equatorial Guinea. This is purely for the basis of creating beautiful borders. There's no reason to give it to Equatorial Guinea. It is so weird. Then Ubangi Shari, which is basically the Central African Federation. People really want to create Greater Cameroon here. Of course, they have a leader whose name is Bong, so he smokes bongs all day. Max Bong. That's a fat Cameroon. Then Gambia. So the English thing is inserting into Senegambia. That's the only way I can put it. Then Nyasaland. And it has been given to Zambasia, which is one of the weirdest shaped nations on the world at this point. Then Jubaland, which is this territory over here. How much coast are you willing to give to the Somalis? That is the question. So option one has won, and we are going to grant Jubaland to Somalia. Somalia now has one of the longest coasts in the world. Moving on to the Middle Congo, which is this. Most people want to give it to the colonial powers. So the French lobby has won out and option 2 has been locked. Granted to France. Then Lorenco Marquez. Granted to Mozambique or granted to South Africa. Most people want to give it to the South Afrikaner folk. This is a pretty beefy South Africa, not gonna lie. Then the crucial states. And most people want to give it to Heil. There will be no Dubai in this timeline. It's all a part of the conservative Wahhabi South family. Then the fate of Western Sahara. The colonial lobby is strong here. Then we have got the last two things. The fate of Kachin. And so this is it. These are the final borders of the world, the final borders for ensuring world peace. No longer will man fight other man, and everyone shall live together forever in eternal sense of tranquility, for progress and civilization. This is the story of humanity and the end of history. Now tell me in the comment section, what are your thoughts? Okay, this is very funny. What we have a massive Australasian confederation here. Okay, let's take a look at some of the interesting countries of this world. The first is Poland. Poland is a mid-sized country in Eastern Europe, and it has very little sea access at Danzig. Then we have the North German state. Then we have the South German state. And then we've got the massive nation of Ukraine and the Kingdom of Greece, which has reclaimed most of ancient Greece from the Turks. And we have got Spain and France, and the concept of Italy has been permanently removed. Then we have got the Tsardom of Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, which is a republic under Milan Stojadinovic. And we've got this weird shaped Hungary in the middle of it all, then Czechoslovakia. And England has been broken up into three different countries. But England's most important possession is here. This is a core part of English territory. And this is the fat South Africa. And then we have got the Prussia of South Asia, Afghanistan, and we have got destroyed India. So that is all for today, I guess. I will end it on this note of showing you fat Finland.